Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday English Flow. How are you today? I hope you are doing great. I am Maya, and I am here with my co-host, Ryan. Welcome back to the channel, Ryan.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here today. And hello to all our amazing viewers. Thank you so much for watching Everyday English Flow. It is always great to be here, Maya.
Today, we're starting a brand new series called Common Communication Problems in English. And episode 1 is about something almost every learner experiences at some point.
That's right. Have you ever understood a movie, a podcast, or a conversation perfectly but then froze when it was your turn to speak? That's exactly what we're talking about today.
This problem has a name. It's often called the input-output gap, when your listening and reading skills are much stronger than your speaking skills.
And honestly, this is one of the most common frustrations we hear about from learners, so if this sounds like you are definitely not alone.
By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why this happens, and more importantly, what you can actually do to fix it.
And just like our previous series, this one is built to feel practical and honest. No complicated theory, just real explanations and real steps you can start using today. Let's get started. Let's talk about this in a very real, personal way because I think almost every learner has felt this exact thing at some point.
Actually, I remember this feeling really clearly from my own early days learning a new language. I could watch a show and understand almost everything, the jokes, the story, even some slang.
That's amazing. So how was your speaking going at that time?
Honestly, not great. When I tried to say something out loud, my mind just went blank. Even simple sentences felt hard.
That's so interesting. If you understood that much, why did speaking feel so different?
I didn't really know at the time. It felt like I had the words somewhere in my head, but I couldn't pull them out fast enough when I actually needed them.
I think a lot of our listeners feel exactly like that right now. Maybe it's not about knowing less, maybe it's about a completely different kind of practice.
That's exactly what I eventually realized, too. This isn't a knowledge problem, it's a skill gap, and those are two very different things.
Let's dig into exactly why this happens and then walk through some real practical fixes.
Before we move on, let me share a bit more about what that experience was actually like for me, since I think it leads somewhere really important.
Please go ahead.
Sometimes I would even practice sentences in my head before saying them, but by the time I was ready, the conversation had already moved on to a new topic.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe the issue wasn't your knowledge of the language at all, maybe it was the process you were using to get from thought to speech.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, if you're translating word by word in your head, that takes time. But if you practice thinking directly in simple English, you might not need that translation step at all.
That's actually really encouraging to hear. I always assumed the problem was that I didn't know enough words, but maybe it's really about how I was using the words I already had. It's such a relief to realize that too, honestly, because for a while I felt like no amount of watching shows or reading was ever going to fix this.
Exactly. And that's a completely fixable problem with the right kind of practice.
That last point really captures the whole idea behind today's episode. This is fixable, and it starts with understanding what's actually happening in your brain.
So let's actually break that down now. Why does this input-output gap happen in the first place? And what can you do about it, starting today?
Let's start with the core reason behind this problem. Reason 1, listening and speaking are different skills. Understanding language is a passive skill. Your brain recognizes patterns it has heard before. Speaking is an active skill. Your brain has to produce those same patterns instantly, under pressure.
Think of it like this. Watching someone cook a dish many times doesn't automatically mean you can cook it yourself. You still need to practice with your own hands.
That's such a good comparison. Listening builds recognition, but speaking builds production, and those require completely different kinds of practice.
In fact, researchers who study language learning often describe this exact pattern. Receptive skills, listening and reading, tend to develop faster than productive skills, speaking and writing, because recognizing something is simply easier than creating it from scratch.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. It's not a personal weakness. It's just how language learning naturally works for almost everyone. Reason 2. Most learners spend far more time listening and reading than speaking. Watching shows, reading books, and scrolling through content feels comfortable, but it doesn't force your brain to produce language.
And speaking practice often feels uncomfortable or even a little scary, especially if you're worried about making mistakes in front of someone.
That fear is completely normal, but it's also exactly what keeps this input-output gap so wide for so many learners.
There's also a practical, everyday reason for this. Most of us simply have more opportunities to listen than to speak. You can watch a show alone anytime, but a real conversation needs another person, timing, and often some courage.
That's such a fair point. Listening fits easily into a busy life, on a commute, before bed, during a break, but speaking practice usually requires more intentional effort to set up. Reason 3, translating in your head slows everything down. Many learners think in their first language, translate the sentence, then try to say it in English. By the time the translation is ready, the conversation has already moved on.
This is such a huge one. It's not that you don't know the words, it's that the translation process itself takes too much time for real-time conversation.
Now let's move to the fixes, because understanding the problem is only half the work. Fix 1. Practice speaking out loud, even alone. Describe your day, your room, or your plans out loud in English every single day, even for just 2 or 3 minutes.
This feels strange at first, talking to yourself, but it trains your mouth and brain to actually produce English, not just recognize it. Fix 2. Shadow real conversations. Play a short clip of natural English, pause it, and repeat exactly what was said, matching the rhythm and pronunciation as closely as you can.
Shadowing is incredibly effective because it forces you to physically produce the sounds and patterns you're used to only hearing. Fix 3. Think in simple English, not perfect English. Instead of translating a complex thought, simplify it first. Instead of a long, perfect sentence, aim for a short, clear one you can actually say quickly.
I am tired is far more useful in a real conversation than a perfect sentence you can't produce fast enough. Fix 4. Have short, low-pressure conversations regularly. Even 5 minutes a day with a friend, a language partner, or even talking to yourself in the mirror builds real speaking muscle over time.
Consistency matters far more than perfection here. 5 minutes daily beats one long session once a month.
And it doesn't need to be a formal conversation either. Even a short voice message to a friend or a quick video talking about your day counts as real valuable speaking practice.
That's such an important point. In today's world, speaking practice doesn't have to mean sitting across from someone in person. It can happen through a phone, an app, or even a recording you make just for yourself. Fix 5. Accept mistakes as part of the process, not a failure. Every fluent speaker made thousands of mistakes while learning to speak. Mistakes are proof that you're practicing, not proof that something is wrong with you.
That mindset shift alone removes so much of the fear that keeps people quiet in conversations.
And honestly, the fear of making mistakes often causes far more silence than lack of vocabulary ever does. So working on that mindset can sometimes matter just as much as the language practice itself. Let's also talk about a simple daily habit that combines several of these fixes together.
I love this idea. Tell us about it, Maya.
Every day, pick one topic, your weekend, your job, a movie you watched, and speak about it out loud for 1 minute without stopping to fix mistakes.
Then, if you want to go further, record yourself, listen back, and notice 1 or 2 things you'd like to improve next time.
This single habit, done consistently, slowly closes the gap between what you understand and what you can actually say.
And remember, this gap doesn't close overnight. It closes gradually, the same way listening skills built up gradually over months of watching and reading.
Let's also add one more important point before we move on, the role of confidence in all of this.
Confidence and speaking ability actually feed into each other. The more you speak, even imperfectly, the more confident you feel, and the more confident you feel, the easier speaking becomes.
It's a cycle, and unfortunately, for many learners, it starts in the wrong direction. Low confidence leads to avoiding speaking, which keeps confidence low.
The good news is you can start that cycle in the right direction at any time, just by choosing to speak, even briefly, even imperfectly today.
One more small but powerful fix: surround yourself with low pressure speaking opportunities, language exchange apps, casual conversation groups, or even just narrating your actions at home in English.
I am making tea. I am walking to the kitchen. These tiny narrations might feel silly, but they build real active speaking habits without any real world pressure.
And over time, those tiny private moments of speaking practice add up to real confidence in actual conversations. Now it's your turn. In the comments, tell us, do you relate to Sarah's story, understanding a lot but struggling to speak?
And try this right now. Pick one topic your day so far and say 2 or 3 sentences about it out loud in English before reading further.
It might feel a little awkward, but that small, brave moment is exactly the kind of practice that builds real speaking confidence over time.
If you try the shadowing technique we mentioned today, let us know how it felt in the comments. We'd genuinely love to hear about your experience.
And if you have your own tip for improving speaking specifically, share it below. Your idea might help someone else in our community too.
Here's a bonus challenge. Try the narration technique we mentioned earlier. Describe 3 things you're doing right now, out loud, in simple English, and post one of those sentences in the comments.
For example, I am sitting at my desk, I am listening to this episode, I am drinking water. Simple sentences like these are exactly where real speaking practice begins.
Don't worry about sounding impressive. The goal today is just to get your mouth moving and producing English, one small sentence at a time, and that alone is a real meaningful step forward.
Great work today. We covered why understanding English doesn't automatically mean you can speak it, and 5 real practical fixes to help close that gap.
Remember, this isn't about intelligence or knowledge, it's about practice, specifically speaking practice, which is very different from listening and reading practice.
Be patient with yourself, speak a little every day, and trust that the gap between understanding and speaking will slowly get smaller over time.
And remember what we talked about earlier, this isn't really about how much English you know, it's about training a completely different skill, the skill of producing language quickly and confidently under real conversational pressure.
So don't judge your progress by how much you understand, judge it by how often you're actually practicing speaking, even in small, private moments like the ones we described today.
Next episode, we're continuing this series with why you freeze when someone speaks to you in English, another problem so many learners face.
Thank you so much for watching and practicing with us today.
Bye, everyone, and keep practicing.
One small homework task before you go. Speak out loud for 1 full minute about your day, right now, before you close this video.
That small habit done every day is how understanding slowly turns into speaking. We'll see you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone, and see you next time.